Welcome to another Philosophical Friday with me, Natasha Alvarez. I've been thinking about silence and betrayal, and I think we need to be very specific about what I mean when I say that sometimes silence is a form of betrayal. I feel like my entire life I've been the person who speaks up during times when other people don't. And maybe it was naive or even foolish of me to think there wouldn't be consequences for that. Maybe I made an enemy. Maybe people distance themselves from me. Sometimes people come to me because they want to know the truth about something. And sometimes I think people stay away from me because they don't want to know the truth about something. And that's okay. But in my mind, if you know something is wrong, you need to say something. I remember years ago at work, I had a disagreement with a coworker. I don't even know what the disagreement was. That's how important it was to me. But apparently, it was important enough for him that he decided to have a party and invite all my coworkers, except for me. Well, here's the funny part. I didn't even know there was a party. That's how little I interacted with these people outside of work. But two of my coworkers came up to me and said, "We want you to know that we're not going to the party." And I'm thinking, what party? They explained that this coworker was having a party and specifically said he wasn't inviting me. And these two people told him that if he was going to invite everybody and deliberately exclude me, they weren't going to his party. Now, these people were not my best buddies. Later on, they didn't stop speaking to him. They didn't make his life miserable. They didn't refuse to work with him. We all continued to work together. And eventually, he left the building. And I never confronted him about the party because honestly, I didn't even care. I wasn't sitting home upset about it. But I never forgot those two coworkers. And it wasn't really because of loyalty. It was because of integrity. They saw something they believed was wrong, and they said something. They didn't need to start a fight. They didn't need to make some dramatic declaration. They simply said, "That's wrong, and I'm not participating in it." And I think that's what I've been thinking about lately. When you see someone being treated unfairly, and you know it's happening, what does your silence say about you? Because people will give you a million reasons for staying quiet. Maybe they were scared. They didn't want to get involved. They didn't want drama. They didn't want someone to be angry with them. Maybe they thought it wasn't their fight. And you know what? There was probably a time in my life when I would have listened to all of those explanations. But now I'm at a point in my life where I don't really want to hear any excuses. No more. Because if you know what's happening, if you know something's being said that isn't true, if you know somebody is being treated unfairly, and you deliberately choose silence because speaking up might make things uncomfortable for you, then you already made a choice. Silence was your choice. And I think sometimes we pretend silence is neutral. I don't think it always is. You don't have to fight somebody for me. You don't have to end a friendship. You don't even have to make an enemy. You don't have to stand on a table and make some dramatic speech about justice. Sometimes all you have to do is say, "That's not what happened." Or you can say, "That's not true." Or even, "I don't agree with that." That's it. Not a big deal. And if you can't do that because you're worried about what it might cost you, then I have to wonder about your integrity. Because speaking up has cost me things. I've had people distance themselves from me. I've probably lost friendships. I'm sure I've made enemies. There are people who probably think I'm difficult because I said something when it would have been much easier for everybody if I had just kept my mouth shut. But what's the alternative? To know the truth and pretend I didn't know? I watched somebody being treated unfairly and decide that my comfort is more important? That's not who I want to be. And maybe that's why silence bothers me so much. Because when someone I care about knows what's happening to me and chooses to stay silent, I don't experience that as someone being neutral. I experience as someone being a betrayer. And I'm going to go even further. Sometimes I experience that silence as an attack. Because if somebody's attacking me with lies, accusations, or unfair treatment, and you're standing there knowing the truth, but saying absolutely nothing, your silence is helping them. You chose not to use your voice. And maybe you have reasons. But choices have consequences too. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about on this Philosophical Friday. When does silence stop being silence and start becoming betrayal? And maybe the harder question is, if speaking the truth might cost you something, how much does your integrity matter to you then? I'd love to know your thoughts. Put them in the comments, and remember, you can always find out more by going to audacitymagazine.com or subscribe to the weekly newsletter at audacitymagazine.com/subscribe.